Okay. Hey y'all. It's your girl Sia and I'm back with another video. Y'all, really quick, I know I'm doing this late video. I will strive to not make it as long as it could be. But I was just watching some TikTok videos where these girls were over there. They look very young. Okay. I'll say that. But went into this idea that they don't want to be independent and they don't want to be the independent baddie because all they do basically what the girl was saying is that when she lived with her parents, she was able to spend all her money on the things that she wanted. Um, and now that she's like moved out of her parents' house or some crap like that, she's having to set up her own. She's basically adulting, right? She has to set up her own doctor's appointments. She has to, really take care of her own, her own. Um, and what she's complaining about is the fact that she's able to pay rent, that she's able to pay her phone bill, that well, apparently her car broke down and, it sounded like that wasn't fully where it needed to be. But outside of that, that's why she feels like she needs a man because she can no longer essentially spend money on the things that she wants to spend it on. Um, I've got so much to say about that. And I'm gonna tell you now, you can tell the girls are young when they're saying things like that because as a woman, let me be clear. I've been in that type of spirit before, right? Where I felt like having my own place, having to pay rent, doing it all on my own was difficult. I was struggling, right? I barely could make ends meet. I mean, I was making them meet, but I mean barely, right? Struggling to keep food in the fridge, at a level that I feel comfortable, you know what I mean? Struggled to have, just the basics like making sure my clothes were clean, money to do that. Like I was struggling, right? So I understand the fear of not having money, especially as a girl, right? As women, we like nice things, we like to do nice things. And so when that seems like it's being stripped from us or taken away, it's a big deal, right? It really really is, right? I just went from paying what, $500 in rent to what I'm now paying about I'll say about 1,500, you know? Yeah, I would say that's a pretty steep jump. However, my experience is just a little bit different, being that I had different roommates who charged an arm and a leg for a room or not, right? So I had the practice of making such large payments, unlike other, folks, okay? Now, with that being said, I guess I'm an independent baddie. I mean, I wouldn't describe myself as such because my focus is not really there, but I do look good and I take care of my own. I will say this, right? When I was younger and struggling, anytime I was struggling, the thought process was I needed a man. And I almost feel like, and I don't want to say it like this, but the man usually was wanted so that I could have the things that I felt like I needed, but 9 times out of 10, the man didn't provide it. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know what the girls are thinking in the sense that if you were to get with a man, you still gonna have to be setting up doctor's appointments. He ain't finna be doing it. I mean, unless he's really that type of man, right? But for the most part, you're doing that and you're doing it for him too and all the kids that you may have, right? Um, my idea of being, because it is a desperateness that comes behind that, right? And it's not a legitimate reason, I would say, to want a man. Now maybe a man would think that that's cool, but I'm like, girl, just because you struggling, don't, I mean, I had to learn that's not the way to get a man. Okay? Because it just ain't. You're 9 times out of 10 attracting the kind of man it's like a mirror, right? So if you're in a struggling place, you mean to tell me you about to find somebody that, I mean, maybe for some girls, right? Maybe with the climates that we got right now, right? But realistically, you're not expecting, I mean, at least I don't know. I don't know what men got going on, but I'm not really expecting the poorest of women to be with the richest of men. I don't know that that's how that works, right? I could be wrong. I just don't know. Okay? So 9 times out of 10 there's a level of fear, right? Not knowing if you can really do what you set forth to do. And I agree that it takes a level of strength in the sense that I believe in myself so much, I'm going to make it happen no matter what. You know what I mean? But it also comes with a level of experience. Like, I do feel like I'm more equipped now to be able to handle being like really taking care of my own than I really was at 18, 19, despite having a place and still doing it, just doing it all backwards, right? Um so I guess I don't know how again if that's the idea, because I just heard a man say, well, these women are finding out that the modern woman thing is not like the way to go, but he's also calling these women desperate at the same time, which is a negative connotation. So it's very strange. I hate when men talk about things that women should be talking about. I do not feel that being independent, again, if you are not able to live at home, what else are you supposed to do? I understand the idea of going and getting married, but realistically, we're not in them kind of times. Like, men are not marrying at them kind of rates. They're really not. So I just, I don't know. My kid can't stay with me until she gets married. Like, no, you finna get a job, you finna learn how to take care of self, because that's just part of learning life. I don't see that as being a bad thing. I just feel like we do not live in a time that calls for women to just be at home with their parents forever until the right one comes along to marry them. Because when is that? And then who's to say if you get married? I mean, so what should happen if you leave that marriage? I just feel like if that's the way women are trying to move, then there should be a level of consequence if you choose to leave that marriage. That's just how I see it. I don't feel like you should be not knowing how to provide for self, not willing to go through the challenges of life, because all it is experience. That's it. You don't necessarily need a man. If you have a man, that's great. I always said in this economy, two is better than one. And you've got to be smart. The thing about being independent, like, when I first, I guess I don't, people see me as that more than I would really say about myself. I just learned that I did not want to do a roommate situation. Like, that was my biggest thing. That was my drive and that was my why. Meaning that no matter what I was going through, I was working towards having my own place so I can be the one in control. I didn't want to do the roommate situation. That wasn't my thing. And going back home to my parents, like, my parents are military. They're 60 something years old. I'm not going back home to that's not fair to my parents, right? If anything, I would want to make my parents proud. And I feel like that comes with a level of independence, whether you have a man or not. Women, just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you're automatically granted a man. Like, that's not how that shit works, right? Now, I understand that we attract men at all times, right? That's really, I mean, it's not that difficult to attract a man, but what you gonna do? Just hop with the first man that says, hey, I want you? Or are you actually gonna do your due diligence? And when women talk like that, it's a very scary slope, because a man then can come in and say, you know what, I want to marry you, I want to wife you, right? And then start beating on you after he goes through the marriage process. And that's, when you're dealing with a weaker kind of woman, I'm just saying, men prey on shit like that, right? And I know from experience. So then women say, okay, well, if I was at home and I was working and I was making all this money and saving on the side. Well, what if the man that wants you, see, because there's no context in these conversations. So what if the man that wants you and says, you know what, I'm ready to marry you, right? Says, you know what, in order for me to really do this, I need you to quit your job right now. You still ain't getting that, all that, your hair done and all the stuff that you thought you was gonna get, because that's what you just entered into, was a marriage, and that's what that man requires. So as a woman, I mean, that's what you signed up for. You see what I'm saying? So for me, I don't feel like the excuses of, well, I don't like adulting, I don't like to have to spend my money on bills. Do you know how many people wish they were in your position to pay money on rent? Like, you'd be surprised. With all these homeless people, I can't believe women are really actually out here complaining about the fact that they can afford the rent. And then their excuses, well, I don't want to spend money on the rent. Well, that's fine and all, but like I said, if you're with a man, there is no guarantee that your money will be spent in the way that you need it to be spent anyway. See, because a lot of these kinds of girls, and I say that for a reason, because they're very weak minded, right? They end up in any situation because having a man is better than just figuring it out. Having a man is better than waiting for the right man. That's not what having a man is all about, in my opinion. The little girl was sitting there crying. That's how you know she's a little girl. I don't mean to say it like that, but she's crying because she went and did something and she hurt herself, and oh, she had a giant knot on her head. Be more careful. That has nothing to do with you getting a man. Like, what? Are we really equating things like that to what women would need a man for? I mean, if that's the case, and we're really not looking at character and personality and whether or not, I can really be with you for a very long time, because that's shallow shit. That's really shallow, in my opinion. That's a shallow excuse for to needing a man. Oh, well, when I lived with my parents, I was able to spend money. Girl, you better figure out how you could spend money and take care of yourself until the right person comes along. Why is it that complicated? It's not that difficult. And you leave your parents' house so you can show them that the person that they raised, they can be proud of. What are you talking about? That has nothing to do with a man. Talk about, I'm gonna stay at home. Girl, we are not in them kind of times. Unless you're living with a family that really understands the value of all folks pitching in, right? And really making it stretch, right? There ain't, I'm not shading those who do stay at home. I, like I said, I was fortunate enough to have a roommate that charged me a parent price, right? So I was able to get my life together. Now, with that being said, I think that strategy in these times is key if you're an independent woman, because here's the deal, y'all. When I left that situation of $500 worth of rent to now, I know mentally I'm having to prepare myself for $1,500 of rent, okay? And the things that I want, I'm not willing to negotiate for, meaning that I need my own parking space and or garage. Like, I'm not willing to settle for the things that I know I need, right? So if in the event, right, that I was, when I knew that I had to make that leap, I was nervous, I was scared. I had the opportunity to have a man, like, it wasn't like that wasn't an option. And he was really trying to read my situation, because if I was fearful enough of being on my own, I guarantee you the next conversation would have came up of me living with that man. You see what I'm saying? But when I look at my career, I'm like, I wouldn't be as far as I am now if I was living with that man. I probably would have had to stop everything because he would have felt some type of way. And or he would have been using me for my, like, needing some of my money, and or got me pregnant, hence the stories now, right? And I would have had to been struggling in poverty anyway, because now I'm having to take care of a whole new kid. So it just felt like I was afraid to be on my own because of the prices of rent, and the idea that you should be making 100K plus to be able to survive and live decent, stuff like that, right? What I did, and again, it's not for everybody, I deal with numbers on a regular basis. So in my mind, I had to determine, okay, what are my bills? What are my expenses? What can I hurry up and get off my plate, right? And then what can I be doing to increase my income? So I have many avenues in which I can go make money, right? Whether it be Uber, whether it be my business, whether it be the store I'm building. Like, I've got many avenues of making extra cash. Do I need them? Not really. I ain't did Uber, and I say I'm gonna do Uber, and I just be like, nah, I'm good. I don't really have to. I just gotta figure out a better way to, I gotta stop spending money. I think that's where I'm at right now. Is I'm in a position right now where I've got to slow down. I was able to buy, and I still am, but now it's like, okay, I got to be able to save so that I have that, so that I'm not in a position where my car breaks down and I don't have the money to pay for it. Again, I'm not in those positions. I feel like if you were in an hourly job, and again, I always go back to that, and you're not doing overtime and stuff like that, yeah, life is about to be real hard. But I am fortunate enough to have a skill set that really takes care of all my needs and my wants, really. I am testing the waters to see just how far I can go. My goal this year, you guys, is to stack up on a down payment. I want my down payment on my house, cuz this rent shit, I mean, I don't mind paying rent. I don't like living in such close proximity to other people that appear to have a lot of issues. Okay. You know, I feel like no matter where I go, I'm gonna be dealing with maybe car theft. I'm gonna be dealing with crazy people, cops. Like, it's like that in a lot of different places. And I would rather just have my own house. I've been really contemplating about it, but I got to get my car fixed and all that. I will say, yes, your money tends to go further when you have someone else helping you. But if you're budgeting properly, and it's not even about budgeting, I live below what I make, right? So if they're telling me the spot that I live at is much cheaper. Like, this should be a place for someone who makes a lot less than me. Let's put it that way. About 20 G's less than me. That's the truth. But the way they set the income parameters is like you got to be making 3 times the rent or something like that. So even for this shit, right? The little shit I'm in, right? I don't mean to say it like that, but it ain't nothing glamorous, right? But the little thing that I'm in, it's crazy. But I got approved for something that costed me more, and then they pulled me down because this had opened up, and I wanted something with hardwood floors. Like, that was my thing. I don't want to be dealing with nobody's bed bugs. Like, I'm not for carpet in apartments that are not like, super luxury, right? I can't do it. Um So I wanted hardwood. I figure hardwood you can just make look nice. It don't really matter. It'll work, right? And they just so happen to do renovations on the place. So I was like, okay, why not? So I took a downgrade. I mean, it was an upgrade, I guess, technically speaking, when we're looking at it from a price standpoint. Because I couldn't imagine paying 14, 15, you know, 16 for something more. Like I just couldn't see it. Okay. So I was able to get a downgrade and I took it. Part of the reason why I took it is because my income, and I want to be clear, they don't my business makes a decent amount, right? For starting this year, I made a decent amount of money. And well, technically every year I've been in business, I've been making decent money, but I think this is the first year I've done it on my own and really sought out my own clients and or maintained my clientele. So that was cool to see. Um I am not doing my applications, okay, regardless if it's me buying a home or if it's an apartment, because I have a business and that is imperative. And I'm not out there hustling like I guess they be trying to make it seem. I'm on a computer all day. You know what I mean? I'm chatting with people all day. I don't have that hard work life, okay? I have a very soft work life. Okay. I can wear whatever I want to wear. I don't have a boss that's nagging me every 5 seconds. Like I can show up when I want to show up. Like I have a very chill freaking work life. Okay. If I want to work from home, I can. If I want to work in the office, I can. Like my job is easy going, right? In that aspect. So I don't have a hard work life, and I realize that living on a salary versus an hourly makes a decent impact as far as how people treat you. So even if I'm late, these people know they're going to get their payment because they know damn well I get when my pay dates are, right? They know that I get paid a certain amount every single 2 weeks. So, regardless if I'm late, they're more likely to still take a chance with me because they still know that money's coming in at the end of the day as long as I'm paying it and I'm doing it with integrity. Do you understand me? So, this idea that being an independent woman, it's not that it's a bad thing, it's just y'all ain't doing it right. And it's okay. That comes with experience. And this is why I keep saying I've screwed up not knowing and listening to all my peers, because education is important regardless of what it looks like. You need to be making a salary. If I'm gonna sit here, because right now I'm still trying to figure out, well, damn, how are these young girls living in these luxury ass apartments? Because y'all know, I'm like, if I'm living in an apartment, this ain't it. And for the kind of money I'm making, I'm like, it's bizarre to me that I'm living in this, but I get that's the times we're in. Now I'm trying to see what can I do to get into something much nicer. Like this is cool, but I know there's nicer and I want nicer. So if I did an apartment, if not, I'm doing a house. So because of the amount of money I made last year, it's like, okay, that's a new goal. I want to be very clear with y'all. When you're independent and you're doing things the right way, right? You'll always find a way. I don't go out, I'm not on the streets driving my car, hustling and all that. Like I don't have to, I be chilling, man. I be in the cut chilling. I got a food fridge full of food, right? Did I say that right? Yeah. My bills are paid, right? My phone, like I'm not stressing about nothing. Right? I got all the clothes I could want. If I want to go get clothes today, I could. If I want to go get a new hairstyle, I can. Like, I'm not being stopped from doing any of that. But it's all about how you do it. And my advice to you is to change the tone. So it's not that I'm living with my parents for forever until I get married. Like, girl, we're not in Snow White or some shit, right? Rapunzel. This ain't them type of times, ma'am. If anything, it should be until I save up enough, because if anything, that's laziness, in my opinion. If your parents are only charging you $400, $500 for rent, why the hell you been there for 3, 4 years? You ain't found a hustle yet. You ain't been paying attention to the economy and leveling up and building on your skill sets. That's all I did when I was paying $500 worth of rent. I was literally getting certification after certification after certification. And let me be clear, all you need to really do as a woman, see, pretty privilege goes very far. You got to know how to use it, but not abuse it. You understand me? So understand that coupled with a certificate, even if it's for something basic like data entry or bookkeeping or whatever, get that certification. You got all the time. That's what folks are not understanding. This time is not about how you need to go get married. That's a distraction. I'm not saying that's not the price, like that should not be a goal. I'm just saying that's not the reason why you should not move out your parents' house and why you trying to downplay being independent. Because, bitch, let me tell you something. If I want to get up and go, I don't have to ask nobody. And my bank account stays with money for me to go do whatever I need to do, including going to get my car fixed. Do you understand? Now, right now, I'll say I was being a bit this year I had the money to go fix my car, but because I just moved and because I needed clothes and I needed things, I spent my money on other things, right? However, my goal is this year, all of my extra cash goes towards my car so that I can get it fixed. But I'm not about to struggle either, meaning that if I want something, which I do want a thing or two, okay, and I usually it's always this way, it doesn't change. So Valentine's Day is coming up, right? So I want a decent piece of jewelry that I can wear on my hand, okay, and I want to spend at least, I'm giving myself, I'm probably going to be cheap on this one. I want it to look very authentic, but not too cheap, right? So I'm giving myself about 100, 150. I may have to go up to about 200, but that's fine. Okay. But I want a ring, and I don't do rings, but I want one for reasons that I'll explain in another live. But I do want a ring, and I want to get me some flowers, because these flowers are really pretty. Everywhere I go, I'm like, okay, God, you must be telling me buy yourself a set of flowers. So um I'm probably gonna get me some flowers. That's what it's looking like. And that's all I want. And maybe a chocolate or two. But that's all I want for Valentine's Day. I say it like all I want, but it's true. That's all I want. So I'm gonna make it happen. But outside of that, the rest of my money as it comes in, it has to go towards bills, um, and food, and I guess if I need clothes and stuff like that. But I don't see, I did all my shopping earlier. So again, it's all about strategy. Like I did all of my winter clothes, like shopping way, way early on, and I got nice clothes. So I don't need to necessarily shop more. If I do shop more, I'm going to Lush or something like that. But it ain't gonna be nothing extravagant, right? Because I can shop. Um so I guess what I'm saying is, did I have the money to fix my car? Yes. Was I being irresponsible? A little bit. Yes. Did I care? Was there an intent behind me being irresponsible? Of course, right? But now this year, I know that I can make enough to pay to fix my entire car the way I need it to be, at least the cosmetics of it. So I'm excited. Okay. And that's a goal I have because I genuinely like cars. I like my car. So it's an excitement for me. It's something to work towards. Um, I don't know that being independent is bad unless you're broke. That's all I can say. Like, and I don't mean to say it in the worst way, but it's the truth. I don't know the kind of money I make. If I told y'all I make, hmm, let's just say I'm closer to 100K than my goal is 100K this year. I said it last year, but I was not focused the way I need to be this year. And that is because rent's high, bills are high, things are, I'm barely making, well, I'm not barely making ends meet. I just spend my money where I want to spend it. And then I worry about, okay, like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I have money to do things I want to do, but I'm financially creative on getting all these things done on time. Let's just put it that way. So I may not pay a bill because maybe I got something else that I really need to take care of. So I will push this bill out a little bit, and then pay it on my next check or something stupid like that. It just depending on what it is. Or I bring in enough that month where I can cover all of my bills without having to do anything extra, and I've still got that money on the side. So it just depends on the month. But I think that's partly because of my self-employment. It's not the income itself. I get to a new level and then I'll teeter down a little bit and then I'll go back up to that level and then I'll maintain that level. So it's a lot that goes into it. But for the most part, my finances, I would say that I have enough to be able to save, right? If I really wanted to, I have enough to save, pay my bills, have the clothes I want, eat what I want, have the hair I want, and be good. So I really think that a lot of this is not that it's a bad being independent as much as it is us not having a skill set, right? And us living in poverty, us not knowing how to maintain our money, us not understanding how to grow our money. Now, I'm not saying I'm making a lot of money. Well, I am making a lot of money, but I feel like inflation has really turned like 100K. Let's say this, $1,000 is like the new 100. Like, so in realistically, I'm not making as much. Like my boss asked me the other day, he said, so how much money do you see yourself making? Like, and I think he means when I'm there, but my vision is so much bigger than there. So it's hard to tell him where I'm going because my vision is bigger than there, right? So I told him 500,000. If I made a $500,000 salary, I would be straight. Like if I could earn half, and I wouldn't even say all that had to come from a salary. Some of that can come from investments. It could come from real estate. It could come from all types of different things as long as I'm making 500K. If I'm making 500, or excuse me, 500, half a mil. Yeah, 500K. If I'm making 500K, I could easily sit back and retire and say, you know what? I want to relax, and put my money elsewhere. I might start crocheting a little bit more or whatever. It's all about like y'all got to understand. So in my mind, but what I believe is, sorry y'all, what I believe is 500K may not even be enough by the time I'm ready to retire because of the way that inflation is going. So the amount that I make, what I'm being told is that back in the day, look back in the day, but in certain areas of the country is still a decent amount. But because our rent prices are so high, I would say this, if I had to pay all of my expenses at one time, I could not pay all of my expenses with one check. And I'm still dipping out of my second check, right? Just to pay the bills and or I may cross over to the next check just to pay the bills. But then I have my self-employment income and depending on the timing of when their payments hit, I'm usually good to do whatever. So I don't struggle in the way that I used to. I don't I feel like because I understand my priorities. So my priority isn't necessarily my hair. I just happen to know how to do my own hair, which makes it 10 times cheaper than going to somebody to do it, right? There's certain things that allow me to appear to look like I got more than what I really got. Does that make sense? And I should look like that considering how much I do actually make in comparison to the average person. So I just feel like women are doing it backwards. And the excuse of I don't want to be independent, so that's why I'm gonna stay home and get married. I don't know if that's a legitimate excuse. I'm sorry. I don't find that to be a valid excuse. Now, if your parents are okay with you living at home for the rest of their life, then that's on them. But I just don't feel like, as a woman, as a child, as a daughter to a father and a mother, I don't, I just couldn't see myself doing that because after a certain age, it's on me to take care of them, not the other way around. So, I don't believe in that. And I don't think that the excuse is, well, I need to get married because again, if you're coming at it from that standpoint, you're ready to go into whatever. You don't have no boundaries. And people pick up on that and they abuse that, right? So the better option would be to get married or get my own place, whichever one comes first. Stack up, save your bread, obviously still do what you do, enjoy your life, but stack your bread while you there, right? Learn a new skill set. That's the premises of you being at your parents' house. That's what you should be focused on. Like we focus on the wrong shit. How are you still living at home with mommy and daddy and you talk about I need to be married? Like that's cool, but that's not the kind of times we live in. So, yes, maybe that is for you. Maybe you do need to be married, but you gotta have that other option in there, which is independence. It doesn't mean that you're a baddie because you independent. That ain't got shit to do with shit. Just means you can be an adult and take care of yourself. That's it. Like they be making it way more than it needs to be. It ain't that deep. And really, if you're on an hourly in this economy, okay, I'm telling you now, I did not know the difference of a salary versus an hourly job. And I'm gonna keep it a buck with you guys. People are more likely to go on a whim for someone with a salary than an hourly position. So your hourly jobs, your job, you struggling. If you working in at King Supers, at the grocery store, at Kroger, like you struggling by yourself. You damn right. That's a different kind of labor. It's a different kind of life. It's a different and nothing wrong with it. I came from that, right? But again, I was wise enough to understand that there ain't always a prince that's gonna come save me. And maybe he might come, but he just may not come right now. And so while I'm not going to rush leaving because I have to be financially, what's the word? I got to make sure that it makes financial sense. I am going to do everything that I can to ensure that I can, not just take advantage of my folks or the people that are helping me, but that I can learn from this experience and grow to become better. So I don't know that this shame and the independence like that, it just sounded silly. So for me, I'm not really there to entertain the nonsense because I mean, I wouldn't give a little girl like that the time of day because in my mind, I know better. Your life is not centered around, I need to be married to a man. If that's something that you want, then okay, cool. You work towards that. Do what you got to do. But do not shame the idea. And I don't know that that's a modern woman. Well, maybe independence is because so many more women can be independent. But to be fair, when I was working an hourly job, I had I believe Section 8. So I mean, I just want to be clear, like this ain't for the weak. And I'm not talking about tough in terms of life. Like, I look very pretty. I look very much younger than what I am. I'm definitely living a much softer life than a lot of these chicks out here. But I thank God for that too, because I don't know how. I just been through a lot, but I know a lot. Like, I don't know a lot. I've experienced a lot. And so I can genuinely say from the most humblest place that independence is not a bad thing. Now, if you out here and you barely making ends meet, like I deal with money. So I don't have, and then when I say I deal with money, that is my profession. So I don't have a necessarily fear of that I'm gonna run out of money. Like, that's never a thought that really runs through my head. Now, the thought does run through my head is, okay, I need to make more. That's really what it boils down to. I'm over the idea that, and understanding money principles is key. I'm over the idea that, oh, I'm not going to have enough money. Right. Again, this comes with experience and understanding the tool that you're utilizing. Once you get to a certain level, and I'm just giving y'all free game, let's say, for example, you get to, it's the same thing in the workforce. I'll use that's a good example. You start off at 13.50, right? Let's just say, right? You're starting off at minimum wage. It might be higher now. I'm just throwing out a number. Your next job, right? You tell them, well, yeah, I got paid. Well, the average person tells them, well, yeah, my job paid me about 13.50 for what I do. So the next job says, okay, well, then we'll pay you what? I could be, listen, don't quote me on the numbers. Just go with it, because you know this how it goes. They say, okay, well, we'll pay you $14 an hour. And in your mind, the average person will take it because to them it's a raise, right? And so slowly but surely you're working your way up. Me, I'm just saying, I was not going to stay at no $12 an hour. So I did what I had to do to make ends meet. But that's me learning that my network is my net worth, right? So on my resume, if I'm telling them that my starting pay was 13.50, right? They're gonna only offer you what, $2 more, if that, at your next job. And so you're slowly climbing your way up. You're slowly getting to where you want to be, at least back in the day. Because nowadays I couldn't imagine. Like, I'm assuming you got to pay me at least 26, 27, 28. Like that, like inflation is ridiculous right now. I don't know how much more, like, I don't know what to say. Things are changing. Like, people, man, it's crazy to know that a King Supers person is getting paid $18, $20 an hour for what? Like, it's crazy to me. It's bizarre to me to think that things have really skyrocketed, right? But you're in this position where you're constantly working your way up. And on your resume, that dollar sign is what determines your net worth, believe it or not. Okay. And so if you're getting paid $12 an hour and you're able to work your way up to, let's say, to 17 an hour, well, you can bet your bottom dollar you're not going to really be dealing with $12 an hour jobs anymore. It becomes a thing. It's like unless you choose to, right? But for the most part, you're going to be considered overqualified for that type of position. So you're always going to be dealing with jobs at your level or higher. Does that make sense? The more you build, it's the same way in the real world with your money. It's like, if you can maintain $5 in your bank account, over the course of so many months, right? You can bet your bottom dollar that $5 will always be in your bank account. You at some point you're never going to have to worry about $5 being the bare minimum. Then your next step is say, okay, well, I've been doing 5 for so long. Let's see if I can do 10. Then you work your way up to 10. Once you get to 10, okay, well, you may fall back down. It's the same thing with crypto and stocks and all that. You may come back down a little bit, but then you might come back up because you did it once. You can do it again. That's usually how that works. You're not going to stay down. If you made 10K one month, you're guaranteed to make it at some point as long as you keep doing what you was doing. And then at some point, that 10K becomes a habit. It becomes something that you can expect because it's almost like that level of experience, you're no longer going to go backwards. You just can't unless something happens drastically, like you done did something wrong, or you were bringing some random man into your situation. Now you distracted, right? And you lost everything. Like, I'm just saying, then different, that's different. But when you're independent, your focus has to be on your goals. Like mine are all my goals. What do I want to get out of life? What do I want to accomplish out of life? And you have to be taking the necessary steps in this day and age. If you gonna do it by yourself, you need to be taking the necessary steps to start making a bigger income. Simple and plain. There's no excuse for you to be living on your own, making 30K. That's not gonna work. 40K is not gonna work. 50K is not gonna work. 60K barely works. Do you understand me? So if you're not doing things to increase your wealth and your overall education, then yeah, being independent right now is gonna be pretty tough. And you can say, well, dang, being independent sucks because I can't go get my hair and stuff done. That's an excuse. That's a cop out. That's a poor excuse. It's got nothing to do with being independent, lady. To me, that tells me you can't afford the lifestyle. So you shouldn't be doing it. And or you should be saving up or finding a way to make more money so that you're not having to be in that position. And when you're not willing to do that, that just shows a level of laziness. That's it. That's it. Has nothing to do with being independent. Independent does not suck if you can afford to be independent. And life comes with struggle. That's what people don't understand. Life, period, comes with struggle. Pick your struggle. What struggle are you trying to deal with? I just know throughout any struggle, I need to know that I can take care of myself, because if anything was to go down, it wouldn't matter what it would be, right? I've been homeless before. I know how to handle myself. Do I really want to have to go through that? No. But if something came down to it, I know how to minimize everything immediately on the spot. I know how to make sure that I leave what I got. The materialistic shit don't mean that much. Not to me. So we got to understand that it's not about being independent that makes us bad. It's about the economy and you knowing how to maneuver through the economy. That's what it is. And do you need a man to help make your financial situation better? Possibly. There's going to be a lot of people who are not able to get the skill set, and they probably do need a second person. Marriage, in my opinion, should be a much more of an option for all people, for women and men right now, than it actually is. If women and men were getting married at such high rates, inflation wouldn't really be a big deal. And I mean men who are actually working, right? I shouldn't have to say this, but not just any man. I'm saying that men need to go, I'm just saying two people in this life is better than one in terms of finances, right? In terms of partnerships, in terms of wealth building, right? You can do it quicker with two than one. Then again, I don't know how true that is, right? I don't really know if that's a true thing for women anyway. I don't know. So if that's your goal, make it your goal, but don't make it the reason you don't move out your parents' house and you don't experience independence. You need to know a level of independence so that if anything was to happen, you can be able to take care of self. It's not a bad thing. It ain't modern women. Oh, these women are learning. No, it's the way the world works. If the man doesn't show up, what are you going to do? Because your parents still ain't finna take care of you. And I know for a fact, um, I would probably do my child how my roommate did me, which means I ain't trying to have you in my house forever. So what you got going on? This is how much I'm charging you for rent. This is when you gotta move. Now, my old roommate didn't do that to me necessarily. He just was moving. And what can I do to help you so that you're able to stand on your own? I would probably just pay it forward. That's it. So I know that was a long because it's hard. Like it's so many angles to that I don't know that people really understand that independence is not a bad thing. Now, again, your ability to come together with a male, that's something different. It's called interdependence, right? It's not independence. So your ability to work within a team, your ability to work or have partnership, your ability to work with other people and communicate with other people to get the job done, the goal, the goal achieved or whatever. That's what that is. That's got nothing to do with you being independent. Independent is the next stage. Interdependence is the next phase. Once you've mastered independence, now you can balance the scales by being interdependent, which means being cooperative, working with the male. Well, not really. It don't mean nothing about a male necessarily, but it's more of that. It's a we thing versus it's a me thing, right? That's what that looks like. So these little girls are silly, and that's how they end up in mess, man. And I know because I've been there. I was the girl who said the same thing, man. I don't want to have to do this on my own, man. I get so tired of having. I remember snapping at one of the guys I was talking to because I was like, you know what? I don't even understand it. I said, y'all want us to be this way. I said, but listen, I said, you don't even have it. Like, I'm so tired of struggling. That's what it was. I was struggling was so tired of it. And I'm thinking these men that are coming into my life, my daddy's telling me, well, you need to go get married. And the men in my life don't even have their own shit together to be able to provide for me. They don't even know how to provide for themselves. So, and unless women are finding men, like, again, I could be wrong because I know there are plenty of men that know how to provide for themselves. Okay. I'm not saying that. But those types of men are not really checking for all these kinds of women either. That's the thing. So this that ain't the lifestyle you really want to. I mean, I don't know. I've been at the beck and call of where a male I've been at his I needed his help. So I was with him because I needed help. Anytime that man got mad at me, do you know his help is where he hit me? Well, not physically, but that was his weapon. So he would take it away, play with my livelihood, things like that. That's not something I'm willing to tolerate. I guess maybe I'm over stuff like that because I will kill somebody. Like I don't play. So I would much rather have my own and come together with a man who has his own, and we come together to build something special. And I feel like that makes you more of a candidate. When a woman has herself together, you are now the full package. That's what independent. I'm the full package. I'm not missing. I'm not. The man can't say, "Oh, well, she ain't got no plate." Because real talk, I mean, I've heard a lot of men say, "I don't really want a broke woman. I don't want a woman that don't have her own place. I got my own place. A lot of the marriages that I see occur, the woman's got her own condo, right? And she's coming together with a man that's got his own stuff. To me, that's more um feasible in this day and age than, oh, I'm gonna just stay with my parents forever until I get married because I don't want to do this independent life. I should have chose a man. I want a man so bad because when I was with my parents, I was able to get my hair did, and now I gotta spend money on bills. I gotta be an adult. Okay. Again, this ain't a situation where you want to be paying rent and where you really struggling, right? I'm gonna be honest. That would be scary in these times. If you can't afford to have multiple blankets in your house and multiple washcloths and towels and be able to wash them weekly or bi-weekly, whatever you do, because I don't know what people do. I prefer to wash my clothes weekly, right? But I know in apartments it's a bit difficult for folks. So, whatever. If you can't afford to have the cleaning supplies that you need and the food that you want to eat and be able to make the meals that you want, right? Yeah, you probably are gonna really, really, really be struggling when it comes to paying rent by yourself. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't do it. That's just me personally. That's the time where I would say, you know what, I still need to be with a roommate or at my parents' house. Because this economy is no joke. It is no joke. I'm sitting here like, dang, I thought I made it. Damn it, no. I just know I can. That's the difference between me and some other folks. So, um, and again, I was fortunate enough to get into a where I know how to be strategic with my money. I'm very creative. That's something I was thinking about. Like last year, I was very scared about living on my own, right? Before I got my place, because I was like, fudge, I gotta settle for an apartment. But ever since I've been in this apartment, right, I have paid this rent on time. And I'm thinking, I don't know how, but I have. I've got groceries. I mean, like I said, I'm still able to live a decent lifestyle. Now, a lot of the money I spent could have went towards my car, right? But I think I did okay. I did what I wanted to do. And I'm still doing what I wanted to do, but I had other priorities to handle. So I did pretty good last year. So that's all I gotta say on that, y'all. I don't think it's a matter of being independent as much as it is learning the skill set, get starting a business. Maybe the career that you're in is not the right one. And being willing to chase those things, especially when you're paying little in rent because that stuff costs. So if you're willing to go get your license and whatever it looks like, then why not? You know. Um, so that's all I gotta say on the matter, y'all. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. I hope I was able to articulate my point. It's a very, like I said, it's a weird talking point because these girls were very young. You don't really hear you could tell these girls was probably like only 18. The girl crying because she had a bump on her head. I'm gonna be honest, I don't get bumps on my head, but maybe I do. I hurt myself, I guess. Um, but not like that, right? And that has nothing to do with being independent as much as it has to do with being clumsy. So I don't know. That's all I gotta say on the matter, y'all. I'm gonna need y'all to come up with better excuses for why you think being independent is such a bad thing, right? And again, I went through all that to show you guys that at one point I thought like that, but I also been abused in the process of thinking like that. And at the same time, I'm on the other side of things where I do live a much easier life now, a hell of a lot easier life now. It's kind of scary. Um, but and I still get up and go to work, right? But again, I can dress how I want to dress. I look the way I want to look. I'm not having to deal with nobody else being extra. Again, my job is a bit unique. Where I work is just a bit different. Um, but that is you got to figure out what's going to work for you. And if you do not have the money, if you're not making, I would say at least 4 or 5 grand a month, right? At minimum, and that's still too low. If you're not making 4 to 5 grand a month, probably I would say more leaning more towards 5 grand a month. And I'm saying that for your rent, if you're paying on a low scale rent, so let's what you would be qualifying for, so very low end, you're not gonna be, and I mean, again, you've got to make sure your expenses do not exceed half of your income. So if you make 5 grand, your expenses should only be what? Technically, they should be a third of your income, but whatever. They should only be, yeah, a third of your income. Mine ain't. That's why I need more money. But I like I said, I don't know how I be doing it because some months I make more than what I think. But if you're making less than $5,000 a month, you ain't really making it, man. You're not. You need to level up. And 5 grand is not enough at all. But I'm just giving y'all numbers so you understand. Anything less than that, you're really struggling. So understand the economy, do your research, level yourself up, use your parents as a tool, use your roommates as a tool. Don't take advantage of that time. Learn as much as you can, increase your income, your value, your net worth, right? If you can get salary job, that's probably the best time. Again, if you're talking about protection, that's a level of protection, believe it or not, right? Um, and it's how people view it, is what I mean by protection. So, for example, if you're late on your car note because they know you get paid a certain amount, they're more likely to work with you than Susie Q, who just quit her job, right? That's all I'm saying. If you struggling on rent or bills, whatever, because you're financially stable, quote unquote, they're more likely to work with you than somebody with an hourly position. So know the type of times we're in. That's it. It ain't got nothing to do with being independent. That's all I'm saying on the matter. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. With that being said, I'm out. Peace.